finished, so that was a big weight off my back. So now it's just kind of prepping for graduation, which is virtual. But there's a few things that I have to get done. But yeah, it's life is good. Despite everything else that happens around us, we have to adapt and adjust, but not do it quietly. So you know,
Congratulations, first of all, finishing your dissertation.
Yes, I'm
Congratulations.
sure that that is a huge stress lifted off of your shoulders.
yes, 3, 4 long years of
Ooh,
just the grind.
And what is
I
your
don't know.
area of study?
Social emotional learning. That's what I
ooh,
was going to
good
kind
one.
of ask you about because I want to get into, and I'm just kind of get my feelers around. I want to get into consulting, and I want to consult teachers because I feel like at first I wanted to be an administrator, and I just looking at the politics. I'm not a big politics guy. So for me, how can I help these kids? How can I kind of branch out and help as many kids as I can? And I feel that the way that I can do that is help as many teachers as I can. So then if I can implement what I do to them and try to help them get through their struggles, because I was looking at it, and when you look at a school system, it's almost like, how you get that thing where, oh, the oldest is special because of this, the youngest is special, but that middle kid is kind of getting the brunt of both
Left.
sides. That's the
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
teachers, man. The teachers get it from
Unseen.
administration and the students and the parents, and it's always coming down on them. So, and for me, I found a good way to handle it. I just know how to handle pressure situations. I know how to connect with kids. But just what about that teacher who got the job thinking they loved it, and now they're in too deep and they want to be able to be effective, even though it's not their full passion, or even those teachers who don't know what to do. So just trying to help them and in turn help the kids out because the kids don't have a choice, right? They get into a situation, whether their family life isn't the best and they want to be their best, but if somebody keeps telling them that they're a certain characteristic, they kind of believe it.
Mhm.
And that stigma, I try to tell my kids, like, you don't have to be your parents, you don't have to be anybody, you can be who you want. Don't settle because somebody says it and then you go to school and another adult says it. You don't got to be what these people are saying. You can be whatever you want. And I know it's hard on them because you hearing all of these things, and it could be anything. And then they start thinking it because, okay, well, if this grown up said it, and you know my mom or my dad said it or my uncle said it, or they start to believe that stuff, and that's the unfortunate part. So for me, I want to try to at least help teachers get through, and do the best that they can, also knowing that, hey, they're kids at first they're kids. So you want to understand where they're coming from first, and you're not going to do that if you don't try to make an attempt at any connections throughout the school year. You got to try to connect with them, you got to get to know them, and in doing that, you got to be transparent yourself. You got to say, hey, I'm having a bad day today. You got to say, I'm not feeling well. You have to let them know what's going on. Now, granted, they're children. You don't have to tell them all the details of your business, but you do want them to know where you are emotionally. And that's part of the problem. In my study, the results were I couldn't get a steady result on a positive end of academic improvement because the teachers had a tough time assessing their kids social emotionally. So in
Hmm.
turn, they are not established in social emotional recognition of what their
Mhm.
students are going through because they have no idea maybe what they're going through or even how to assess and analyze a child social emotionally because there's so much put on the academic analysis and assessment. So and I'm a clear proponent that social emotional has to come first. It's the foundation. You can't teach anybody ABCs and one, two, threes if you don't know how to teach it to them. You don't know how they're feeling. So
Right.
that's kind of what I want to implement. I want to begin a program like that. First, I'm going to do some research this summer to figure out how to get my foot in the door and kind of introduce this to the districts. And then that's something I plan on doing along with teaching still. So it's kind of where my road is leading towards.
That is like totally awesome. Um, and
Thank
it's
you.
amazing because it's a black man doing it. Because I work with my
Yeah.
son's school. My youngest son, who was going to Henry Clay. Well, it's not Henry Clay anymore. They made it a Green Dot school.
Mm-hmm.
And I became more active for a couple of reasons. One, when I started connecting with the ARC program, his after school program, and getting to know, which is where I met Charles. He was one of the mentors, the coach for the after school program. The point that I'm making is that the last year that my son was there, I was having meetings with the vice principal, and I was advocating because they had changed their attendance policies. And that attendance policy impacted my son. And what that attendance policy stated was, even if a child comes into the classroom 30 minutes late, 30 minutes early, 15 minutes early, let's say they come in to hang out with the teacher or help the teacher or even get some extra work done. And then that school bell rings. What happened? Oh, okay. And that school bell rings.
Oh, sorry.
That student is not sitting in his or her seat. That student is marked tardy.
Wow.
If you're marked, and you already know what happens if you mark tardy enough.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I'm like, who changed that policy, and who does that policy really serve?
Right.
And so I started advocating, and even sharing with them an article that was published in Texas where they were dealing with a lot of the same situations. But one of the things that I was advocating for is for the administrators and the teachers to really get a sense of the population of students that they were working with, to understand that a lot of those students were foster children.
I got two stories, but go ahead.
So you're not, they're foster children, one. Mm-hmm. Some of them are from broken homes, and for those students that are in homes and situations where they're responsible for getting their siblings to school before they get themselves to school, which ultimately a lot of times leads to them even getting their own. And now you're penalizing them. And for the students that are sitting there in your classroom because they're not sitting, I'm like, you guys are a great disservice.
Yeah.
And you're not speaking to the social, emotional needs or even the economic needs and impacts of the students that you're serving, and you're setting them up for failure. And if anything, you're criminalizing them.
Yep. The thing about it is at the end of the day, pushing too much paperwork and too many politics.
Oh man.
Putting so much focus at the end of the day, putting so much focus on that, where it's like, well, this has to be right on paper, but that's not really what it is in real life. So what are we really saying? What are we really speaking to?
Money over children.
We could have all these reports done as educators, as moderators, as, you know what I'm saying? We could have all of these reports and all this stuff done. But if you're not making that connection, you don't have the ear, the attention, like any of that, none of that matters. Because the problem is still going to exist.
I just want to say this one thing. I do get it from a business perspective, how this system is set up. A school's funding is highly contingent upon attendance.
Yep.
So and that's fine. But see, that's fine. But my thing only is pushing too much on that you're not focusing on what's really going on with them. Like, I get how that part is important.
So it speaks to what Melvin was saying in terms of the person in the middle, such as sometimes the teachers.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing. The teachers, for me, two stories. One, first day of school, I always give my kids the same structure that I give them. One is, I'm an adult and I'm a professional. You can't make me angry. You can't channel that emotion from me. I know that you're kids and I know you're trying to learn. But frustration, irritation, these things can't happen, and I can't explain that to you when it happens. And then you'll have those students who, oh, no, I'll make you mad. Okay, good luck. And then you realizing that this is a game, and I'll make the rules to the game, and you're not winning this game. But at the end of the day, you will be better because I'm going to work hard to make you better. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, I tell my students, listen, do everything that you can to be ready. But if you are late, I cannot blame you for that because you cannot drive yourself here. But make sure that your parents are not waiting for you. That's all I would say. Your parents have everything else going on. They have things going on. I totally understand. When you come in, just get ready to get to work. If you're late, don't be apologetic. You don't have to worry about it because you can't control yourself coming here because, they're 5, 6, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, 8th grade. They can't drive themselves to school. So that's not under their control. So I'm not going to penalize you for that. And I don't mark tardies. Absent, if you're gone, I mean, I got to mark you absent. But I typically don't mark tardies because it's not their fault.
You're rare.
They have no control of that.
You're rare. Because the other teachers, you're rare.
Right.
Just like what you were saying, Tanisha, earlier. Like, that doesn't make sense that a parent would even have to say that. But the fact that you're compassionate of the fact that you cannot drive yourself to school, just make sure that you're taking accountability for not being tardy or not, having your parents wait for you.
Right.
If more teachers would just have that mindset and that compassion, that would make it a lot easier on these parents, especially single parents.
Right. And a lot of these kids take it serious. They take it upon themselves because maybe sometimes their parents are blaming them. And that's what I tell them. Hey, it happens, right? You make a mistake. You're not a morning person, but you have to learn to get through it. But don't take it all on yourself. And then another story, I had a student who, I guess mom moved away, but she wanted to keep having them come to school. But they kept coming in half a day missing. I think this kid must have missed 40 days, right? So I did everything I could. And on a state test, I don't know the state test is a thing, but I had him jump 2 rings. He went from nearly to exceeding because of my methods and my patience. And then you got this, man. I know that you can't control coming to school and not coming to school, but I'm going to give you the tools to kind of help you get through this. And he did. So if teachers have the same mindset, take all of these things as a challenge and understand that these kids don't have control over any of this stuff. And if these kids get frustrated because they want to be successful and they have all these boundaries and they have to deal with these things, they can't whoop their parents because they want to be great in school if their parents are not school people. So you can't be mad at them, but you can help them and help get them through this, because this isn't like being in school and going through all this stuff, being late, not missing school, wanting to come to school because your parents have something going on and they're going through a divorce or an argument with mom and dad and they have to deal with that emotions as well. You can't be mad at a kid because they feel upset about something that they can't control. They want things to go right with their parents. They want things to go well. They want to be happy. They want to go and do the things that they see on TV and all this stuff, and they can't. So you have to understand as a teacher that these kids, for one, go into a stressful situation socially and academically every single day because they have to learn something new. And they're trying to be cool and they're trying to be accepted. And they have to go through all these things. And not everybody has enough confidence and enough self-esteem to get through it. So you have to understand that these kids are going through a lot, even walking into the classroom every day. And I think a lot of teachers don't understand that. It's hard. It's not easy for some kids. Like for me, I was granted the blessing of having my 2 parents, even though they divorced when I was 7. But my dad gave me confidence and got me through everything in life. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to teach, to show these kids, look, man, you can be confident. And I even had kids, just some of the stuff I would wear things that I felt good in, and the kids would say stuff. And I'm like, guess what? You can say what you want, man. I love me. And I love what I'm wearing. I love how
I'm not trying to impress nobody.
Right. I do that and did those things and continue to do those things to help the other kids who feel like, oh, well, they're making fun of me because I like this color. Let them. You like it. You comfortable in it. They have to deal with their insecurities. If you're not insecure, you're fine. If you're comfortable, don't change who you are because somebody else is not comfortable with you. You don't have to go through life morphing yourself to make somebody else feel comfortable. If you're comfortable and you're not doing anything outside of the law or anything that you're not supposed to do, you're fine. And these are the stresses and things on top of having to learn and then dealing with a teacher that don't like them because of their personality, because of who they are. I've had so many students come into my classroom. Why the teacher don't like me, Mr. Johnson? I don't know. And I tell them the truth. Sometimes, with our queens, they're really aggressive. But I tell them, look, I had a grandmother and a mother and aunts who were very aggressive. I love it. It's an alpha female thing. You guys are queens. You deserve to be that aggressive. You get what you want and you state what you want and you don't sugarcoat anything like America wants us to. And I tell them this stuff. That is why they may be. Now, don't tell them that I'm telling you this is between me and you, because then I don't want to have to address it with them. But listen, they may be intimidated by you. I'm not telling you to change who you are, but just listen to what they're saying. And if they're not right, then they're not right. I don't want you to change you. but I do want you to get through that class and pass the grade. So, you know, a bunch of these situations I see, and I'm like, how could these teachers do this to these kids? They forget that they're kids at the end of the day. You know, you're supposed to be an adult, a professional, an example, a guide, and you're not any of those things because you're intimidated by this child. And it just, you know, and these are things I want to teach these teachers is that, hey, at the end of the day, you're going into a classroom with 20, 30 people. First of all, you don't know, and you have no idea what they've been through, and you don't know what pain that they're going through because they don't show it. You know, and you'll see flashes of it, and you're like, oh, wow, you're going through something, you know. But and sometimes it takes a whole year. I had a kid who would walk into class, fresh haircut, fresh clothes, fresh shoes. The kid almost had more shoes than me. I'm like, man, what's going on? Ooh, he killing. Single mom. And then at the end of the year, and then he started throwing tantrums. He would just throw tantrums. You're not helping me. And I'm like, I am helping. I just need you to copy it down, try it first, and I'll be right there with you. No. And he would throw tantrums. Then it finally clicked. It was like April. And he was like, no, Mr. Johnson, you don't care about me just like my mom don't care about me. I'm like, oh, there it is. There it is. Mom buys all these things and spends no time. And I tried to connect with them, but then again, I ran out of time. The year ended, you know, and I used that like, look, your mom is going through some things. I know she wants the best for you. She's working very hard. And I know you want her to spend time with you. She's spending her time trying to support you. Please understand what your mom is going through. I know that you're frustrated with that. You let it out in front of everybody telling me that I didn't care. And even though you know I care. And I know your mom cared, you know, so I went through that with him, and then it started to turn around, and the year was up. So that's my only thing. That's the thing that I feel every year, and it bothers me. It's like a year is not enough because by the end, I just now cracked some of them, and it's like now they're gone. You know, everything I finally broke it down and built that foundation, and then boom, they're gone on to the next one. So that's the only thing that bothers me as a teacher that I get frustrated with. It's like, it was going so good. Now you're gone. So.
Well, maybe with your speaking to the schools and the teachers and the educators, like what you said you wanted to do, maybe creating something where you can continue those relationships with them as they get older.
Right.
You know,
I try. I leave my emails all the time.
Trust.
Yeah.
Huh?
I leave my email all the time. Like, contact me if you need me, if anything. I just had about 4 students yesterday or Friday email me, hey, Mr. Johnson, how you doing? So I try to keep those connections, but some don't, you know, and that's the tough part. But that's why I want to try to implement that on a district and teachers, so where you go from one teacher and then that next teacher has the same mindset and they can continue to build. So, you know, hopefully, you know, it'll work and it'll grow. And, you know, because some teachers, honestly, they don't even know what to do. Even as a new teacher, I went into the district and you had teachers teaching 15, 20 years. Mr. Johnson, how did you do that? Huh? I just got here. How are you asking me? You know, so it's like, I see that some of them have no idea that it's an emotional. You got to tap in emotionally first. You got to get to know them, figure out what they like, and talk about what they like. Sometimes they want to talk about it. Even if you don't like it, you say, oh, well, tell me more. You know, some of those things are small, but they're so enriching. And like, same thing with me again. Lunchtime, my door's open. Come on in. Mr. Johnson, what you eating? It stink. Man, I like it, man. I'm sorry, it's funky. It's a little broccoli stink. You know, just talking to them. They, you know, they want to come talk to you. They want to be around you. And it's like when teachers say, oh, this is my time. I need my time. I don't want to have to during my lunch. Why not? You're just eating and listening. They just want to come. Sometimes they just want to come in and talk. Sometimes they don't want to talk to their peers about what they want to tell their teacher. And those are the things that bother me too. Like, dang, it sounds so selfish. Like, if you want this job, it's a giving job. And all you're giving is your time. That's it. You're giving your time in your ear sometimes. And they just want to talk. So, you know, all those things. It's unfortunate, but that's what I want to try to implement to these teachers. Just to think about these kids who don't even have a choice. They don't get to have a choice until they're adults. And by that time, you fill them up with all this negativity. Then they only want to do is make the wrong choice because all they think is, I'm less than anyway. I don't care. You know, you don't want kids to think like that once they get out of school. You want them to say, "Whoo, I got what I want. I'm going. I know where I'm going. I know where I need to be. This is what I need to do." But a lot of them don't have that mindset. Not a lot. Some of them don't have that mindset. Some of them are like, well, this teacher told me I was pathetic. This teacher told me I was stupid. This teacher told me I was retarded. This teacher told me I was too loud. This teacher told me I was bad. So guess what I'm going to be? You know, and some of them give up and they're like, this is what I'm going to be. And that's not right. You know, it's not right for teachers to do that.
Well, as a society, we've been taught to implement a lot of negative reinforcements. And one of them as adults, which is, you know, that old school way of rearing, is if I shame and blame you enough and make you feel bad enough, you're going to stop the behavior because you don't want to continue to feel that way.
Right.
You know, kind of like that reverse psychology kind of situation. In a lot of these teachers, and when I say teachers, I'm just speaking about human beings in general, who have their own childhood trauma or their own issues that show up because they're human beings. Some of them are introverted. They don't have good interpersonal skills. So they definitely can't build upon that and build that relationship rapport with a child or a student.
Right.
And those are the things that really impact the ability to connect. So a child is receptive to learning or does have the motivation to come and to receive whatever information that you're feeding them at the time. It is a huge problem, but, you know, from the perspective that you're approaching, it's awesome, because I'm a firm believer that coming to the adults and trying to help them understand is the key. We're the foundations.
Yep.
I tell parents that all the time. I have 21 families on my caseload that I work with per week. Each family I have to do an hour session with. And I talk to the parents about the foundational principles of them being okay so their child or the person that they're caring for can be okay.
Right. Yeah. It's balance. It's balance. That's part of what I want my program to be, is just to kind of take a look at the teachers that I'm consulting at that point, seeing where they are, asking them, hey, do you do things that you enjoy every day, even if it's for an hour? You know, and that's what I tell my students. Like, look, I go to the gym 2 hours. If I got to get up, I get up at 3:30, 4 in the morning, 5 days a week. So I get my 2 hours of my me time. And even in the afternoon, I like playing FIFA, soccer, video game. If I get an hour of that, but you need every human being needs that balance of doing something that they enjoy. Whether you walk, read a book, whatever it is, you have to make sure that you're incorporating that into your life so that you don't go into that high stressful work situation. As a teacher, it's great, it's fun, but it's very, very stressful and very, very intense because of the energies that come into the room. You can have kids that go through something very traumatic the night before, and they bring that into the classroom. So if you're not balanced, you can't then balance them. If, say, you had something going on tonight and they did, and everybody's in a mood, it just ruins the whole energy in the room. So it's important that teachers do that. They got to take time for themselves. And based on what I see, a lot of them don't. A lot of them don't. And it turns out that it reflects the room. It reflects the classroom. And what they think they're doing is, I'm teaching the curriculum. I'm teaching them everything that they need to know. Nobody's listening. That connection is not open because you have not tapped into them to make that connection first before you can start teaching them something. They're not listening to you, you know, and it's when you know them, you can tell when they're not listening. But if you don't know them, you see that face, and you're like, oh, they got it. No, they don't. They just acting like it to get through the day, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Have you know what I just thought about as you were saying that? I was thinking about how I could talk to somebody that I might be mentoring, and somebody may have told them, you know, you need to go to therapy. And the moment you say therapy, the wall is already there. However, you could sit down and have a personal conversation with that same young person, and that be therapeutic, right? Because they trust you, they're opening up, they're engaging, they're talking about it. But the moment you say therapist, it's like, no.
Yeah, that's stigma. That's stigma of therapy that we don't need. I don't want to walk
into a situation feeling like I'm being judged. It's kind of the feeling that I've gotten, or the responses I've gotten. You know,
or even the consensus that here it is, I'm telling yet another stranger my business. And what do you intend to do with that information?
Yeah.
Are you just listening to me for the sake of me opening up wounds and pouring out my heart and being left to now
figure it out
things? Because for whatever reason, you may not identify with what I'm talking about. Is your feedback going to be compassionate? Is it going to help me rather than to point out my flaws and what I need to do to fix it? Because there's this different variations of reasons why people don't find therapists very helpful. And then the ultimate thing is people have the expectations that therapists are here to fix things. And that is not the purpose and the foundation of therapy or being a therapist. That person is supposed to, again, build that same relationship rapport that you talk about. It takes you a whole year to build.
Right.
And, and in that it comes up with trust.
Yep.
And the connection. And so a therapist is there to help you discover the answers that you may even have yourself, to help you figure out what is the solution for your problem. Because 9 times out of 10, in order for a solution to be effective, people have to be able to develop that themselves based on what they feel is the appropriate thing. And it's a therapist is just guidance.
Guidance. Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pull up the mirror, help you see, okay, this is where I am. And maybe even provide a couple initial steps, but at the end of the day, you got to take those steps and you got to provide that. And I think too, that's the special thing about being a teacher, right? Because you are right there to see the growth and progress. Now, if you do it right, you have taken them from one position academically and social emotionally to another position. And then they see it and they feel it. They're like, oh, wow, this is changing. This is working. I had a student, another alpha queen, loud and aggressive. And the years leading up to it,
wait a minute. No.
What happened? What I say wrong? But that's the thing. They're so intimidating to others, but at the same time, that's power, right? When you say what you want, you say what you feel without worrying about how somebody else thinks. You got a sense of power and pride in yourself that a lot of people work lifetimes to get and they can't get. But with her, I kept hearing about her name. Oh, did you hear about? Oh, she's causing me a problem again. Oh, she did this. Da, da, da. And then I get her and I'm like, okay, let's see. And then I started to notice it's not just her. It's that reputation that everybody knows about. And then they pick at her and then they do these things. So it wasn't just her. So what I wanted to get her to do is to say, okay, you're an excellent student, but you can't be an excellent student if you're always outside of the classroom. Now, with me, I don't kick nobody out. The only way you get out is you kick yourself out. I'm not going to tell you to leave my room because to me, that's counterproductive. We in here to learn. So I told her, look, in the future, because I already know what's coming, right? Teachers get that intimidation. They want to kick her out. I said, listen, with me, you're fine. Just make sure that when somebody tries to test you, think about it. Because she would do it with adults. And again, hey, if you feel disrespected by someone who's disrespecting you, I don't think that there's an issue with you countering that offer if they're disrespecting you. And that's another thing with teachers. You can't assume these kids know what respect is. You have to show them. Don't just tell them, oh, this is what you show them, right? So with her, I said, okay, somebody says something sideways or they do something, take a second, think about it. And an incident came up where a student was talking to someone else, but she was like adjacent to them. And on typical occasion, she would have snapped at him. Who you think you're talking to? She said, she turned, she thought about it. She said, were you talking to me? They said, no, the person over there. She said, oh, okay. And then she turned around, said, Mr. Johnson, I did it. I said, yeah, see that? Sometimes that message may not be for you. And sometimes you may misinterpret the message. So just think about it for a second. And I taught her some things. Hey, ask for clarification. Say, excuse me, what do you mean by that? Because sometimes she may take things the wrong way. And again, her mom was like that, but that's okay. Just, you want to refine them. I don't want to change anybody. I just want to refine them, help them grow as they move up in society, because I don't want them to get caught up in that lane that everybody in America wants to put us in. She's a brilliant girl. She's very smart. And she was actually one of the ones that emailed me. But it's like, you want to help them. You don't want to say, oh, man, what you're doing is horrible. No, hey, I see what you're doing. Let's clean it up a little bit. It's still you. It's just as you get older, some of the things we can't really do in that realm of society. I don't want you to change who you are, not at all. But sometimes it's a misunderstanding, and if you don't think about it first, now it's a bigger misunderstanding versus, oh, okay, so that wasn't for me. Oh, okay, So just getting her to do that, it helped. She progressed as usual, and then that year went and was like, oh man, So grades went up, everything was going up. Why? Because she wasn't leaving my classroom. It wasn't, you need to get out. It was, okay, watch your tone really quick. That's kind of loud. I know you're excited. Just, we got people working on this side. It was things like that. It was minor stuff where a teacher would like, you need to get out because it was, oh, wait, hold on. You're a little excited. Just come closer because I know they're working and I don't want to enter. Just little stuff. It wasn't even a big deal. And I'm like, what were they saying about this girl last? Why were they saying this? Again, I don't believe what they say, but I'm like, you couldn't navigate this?
Probably the way that everybody was responding to her. Instead of them taking it the way that you did, responding to it like, okay, hold on, I understand you're upset. Let's talk about it. Have the Jesus moment real quick, as I call it, versus saying you so disrespectful, you bad, you this, you that. Right. Think about the difference in that reaction.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're already at a 10. So here I am to be combative towards somebody I'm supposed to be teaching that's already at a 10, who's here because they need my help.
Right. Yeah.
Who needs the medication?
That's another thing. That ADD thing get on my nerves. Don't even.
Like,
I had to explain that to a parent. I had to explain that to a parent, to her child. She said, first he said, "What's wrong with my son?" And I said, "Listen, there's nothing wrong with your son. Your son has a Ferrari engine in a Honda Civic. That's all. His mind moves at a rapid rate that his immature body can't handle yet. You notice he does well in school, right? Yeah, he finishes everything fast. Exactly, because his mind is a Ferrari. His body is Honda Civic. The Honda Civic can't carry the Ferrari right now. But you just have to help him deal with that. My son is like that. Ooh, he's boom, 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 boom. With him, it's different because he's extroverted. I was an introvert. I tell people all the time, if you could see what's going on in my head, you go out of control. You wouldn't know what to do. But I keep everything inside. I was able to do that as a kid. Him, it's all out. He's all out there. He can tell you everything. But it's not ADD. It's just to me, it's a brain function that is advanced beyond his years. And his body and heart, mind, soul, heart and soul is trying to catch up with that. His immature childlike behavior is trying to catch up with his mental capacity, which is ready to take off. So I don't like the ADD thing because I don't think it's an attention deficit. Is, hey, you moving too slow. Somebody said this online. They were like, it's not that I talk too fast, it's just that you listen slow.
There you go.
Fix it. I'm where I am. You need to get where I am and help me move forward. Don't tell me to slow down because you can't keep up. And that's the thing about ADD I don't like. They don't need medication. They just need someone who can help guide them for where they are so they can keep going forward instead of slowing them down with everybody else. And then now their confidence level's low. They think they're supposed to be on this level when they're supposed to be 3-4 notches ahead. So,
and that's a great battle because the general or the most common diagnosis for especially Black children is ADHD.
Right.
And that's a whole other conversation. But, I definitely feel you on that. I worked with a lot of young people within my neighborhood before I even got into working in the community abroad or into the mental health sector. Right. And I remember hosting a lot of what you would call communication cipher, conflict resolution ciphers in my house. Right. Because it was a group of girls that, just constantly going at it. And so to sit them down and to kind of like have them listen and hear each other to find out that this beef that you guys have really had nothing to do with either one of you not liking each other per se, but the perception that what you felt she was communicating directly to you had nothing to do with you.
Right.
It was as simple as I got into it with my boyfriend. So when I walked past, I was angry. I was in my thoughts and I didn't hear you when you spoke to me.
That's it.
Oh, I spoke to her and she didn't speak to me. So she must not like me. So guess what? She want this smoke.
Yeah, that's it.
So now she giving her
Miscommunication.
attitude. Now she like, well, what's this bitch problem?
Mm-hmm.
And so now they just leave it at it.
Now we
Yeah.
beating up at the school in the parking lot.
No, we
Over
beat up in the
misunderstanding.
neighborhood.
Wow. Yeah.
So my motto back then was, you can come and kick it here. There's no drinking. There's no smoking. When I come around, don't be cussing because I know y'all cuss when I'm not here.
Right.
And if there's any fights that happen in my house, you're going to have to fight me.
There it is.
So to prevent all of that, and it just kept escalating. It just, I bring that point up is because, again, when I set these girls down and talk to them, come to find out, again, these beefs between each other developed over emotions and issues that had nothing to do with the other person. It was the perception that you were trying to disrespect me. It was the perception that you don't like me. It was the perception that I was even on your mind.
Right.
I wasn't even thinking about you. I was going through something. And so I had to help them to understand that. Because if we don't sit down and have those types of conversations with our young people, when they find any and everything so offensive and they're so reactive, just behind the look, then this is the war that we're up against, not just in education, but just around us in our neighborhood, period.
Right.
Because they're bullying and they're victimizing, they're being bullied at home. I talk to parents about, the stuff that goes on in a household that children take with them to school. Right. I was one of those children.
Yeah.
I just happened to be one of those children like yourself. Like when I was younger, I kept a lot of my thoughts in, which caused me not to smile. So everybody thought I was angry. Everybody I encountered smile. And I'm just like, I am smiling. No, you're not.
Yep. That's
because
me.
I'm going through so much at home.
Yep.
And I pulled out to school.
I would look mean and like, it was funny because even in high school, I transferred to a new high school. My cousin was like, man, all these girls like you, but you look like you upset. I'm like, no, I'm just thinking. Like when I think, I have this look, but I'm thinking, I'm processing things. I'm going through. I'm not thinking about, I'm focused right now, so and that's how I've always been. It's like, why you look so upset? I'm not even mad. What's everything all right with you? I'm good, but that's the thing, that perception, right? When so many times there was a fight and I'm separating people and I'm asking questions. And I'm like, okay, so you thought that she said this, but you didn't go directly to her to clarify? No, because my friend, let me ask you a question. Right before you got ready to fight, who was in the front row with popcorn watching this? Your so-called friend wanted to see something, or the boys chimed in because guess what? They wanted to see a show. Why would you guys want to give them a show over nothing? At least make them pay for it. At least say, hey, put your money in the hat. Put your money in the hat. Me and you, we gonna split it. I mean, that's how they do it on TV. You want to watch it? Pay-per-view. Put your money in. We split the money. That's what I tell them. At least make
business opportunity.
Yeah, at least put your money in first. At least tell them you all coming to see? Get your dollars out. It's like $5, $10, get it out. But
make it make sense.
Yeah, so you're gonna get in trouble for something that they trying to push to see so they can watch a show because they don't want to be in class. Like, it just, come on. Well, I didn't know. Well, that's why you have to go to the person. You never want to hear something someone said from someone else. You never want to do that. You go to the person. Go to the person and never do it around anybody else, because then that's how more stuff gets started. Hey, can I speak to you for a second over here? This is what I heard so-and-so said. Is it true? And then it's over. And hey,
well, not all the time, but yeah.
Not all the time. But
90% of the time you'll find out it's a miscommunication. But the biggest thing about it is the foundation of all of what we're talking about is communication.
And where do we learn poor communication from?
Say it again.
And where do we usually learn poor communication from?
From our families.
From those two.
Exactly.
2 pillars. No. Teachers too. Don't
But
let
I
the
always
teachers
go
off the
back to
hook.
the foundational principles of it.
The pillars. I call them the pillars. I talk about it a little bit in my research paper about how your child spends the most time with the 2 pillars, the parents and the teacher. And if they're both miscommunicating and things are not, they're both seeing the wrong thing. So they're like, well, I guess this is it. But if you get that chance where you see one, whether it is the parents or the teachers, you can say, oh, wait, there is more than one way to do this. Okay, let me figure out which one is the right one. But if there's 2 wrongs, which way? They don't have exposure to anything else new. It's like, well, I guess this is it because I don't see any other way to do this, So,
and by the way, we're not letting the teachers off the hook at all.
Right.
I think the first I thought parents first, because I know communication starts way before they even meet the teachers, from birth. And so it's kind of like, I mean, have you ever seen, a parent talking to a small child, like a 1-year-old, but talking to that 1-year-old like that was somebody off the street?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, that's way before you come to somebody's classroom.
Right.
That's way before that.
But see, the teacher, that's a whole other expectation. And I'm very careful in addressing that, because that's a twofold situation. Because on one hand, there is a level of responsibility that belongs to the family, the caregivers, the parents.
Right.
And then, and of course, in any profession, when you show up and you're the professional, then people have an automatic expectation too, that there is a level of not only professionalism that you're supposed to demonstrate, but there's a level of wisdom and knowledge within that craft. Right. And so when you don't show up that way, then of course, I've experienced it being both educator and parent. I've watched how we pointed the finger at each other because, like you said, our children spend the most time with both of us.
Right.
At least a good 16 hours of their day. Why? Because you got 8 hours with the teacher, 8 hours with the parent, and 8 hours you're supposed to be sleeping.
Yep.
And those are the 2 major influences that both point the finger at each other in terms of who's supposed to have the greatest influence, who's supposed to, be able to shape the characters of the young people they impact. And for me, I look at it from a village standpoint. Everybody has a responsibility.
There you go.
Yep.
If we were all on the same page, if your child couldn't come back and say, Mr. So-and-so said this because Mr. So-and-so didn't already talk to me.
There it is.
Me and Mr. So-and-so have already had a conversation. I already know the assignments that you got that's coming up because he didn't already sent that email. He didn't already call me. So I know what's going on. I get it too. I'm going to circle you right on back to that adult. Let's figure out what it truly is. But if we're all saying the same thing, then you leave that confusion out of it. This is the way it goes. This is the expectation all across the board.
Yep. I get
not
the parent conference
or not just from the parents.
First thing I do in the parent conference, I go right to the students. So tell them how you doing. And I'll just sit there. I'll let them get it on. Get it all out. And then I go ahead and get my file. Okay. And if it's accurate, it's accurate. If not, I'll let them see. Okay, this work. And it was one day, pretty girl, and her parents were there. You could tell they were separated, but they were co-parenting very well. And the dad was pushing, like, come on, you got to get this together. You can't rely on your looks. And mom was just defending her. And then so mom was like, well, did you try to do this? And I pulled my board back and I said, this board is here all the time. She can look at it whenever she needs it. Well, how about, where does she sit? Right there next to the thing. And then she kind of, after like the 3rd or 4th thing, she just sat back and was like, I can't help you no more. Mr. Johnson got everything ready for you. I can't defend you. You
had your 504 plan already.
Oh, it was. That's
I love those parents. I love those parents.
No excuses. Like, I applaud her. Like, I love that you defending her, but I'm doing everything I can. That's what I tell parents all the time. I do everything that I can. All the way to spending extra time, whatever they need. I'm here. It's just the initiative that they have. I can't go chase them down. Right. I can't. Unfortunately, I can't hunt them. I have to stay here because I have other kids that I have to tend to. So, and that's the thing. It's just that pillar, we got to get that pillar together where the teacher is communicating with the parent, and the parent is, giving their effort on their end, the teacher's giving their effort on their end, and the child will flourish. I mean, that's that one thing also that I was looking into is, child and family therapy, but I was thinking of calling it something different, just to sit down with the parents and the child to kind of help the parents get through, because sometimes it's tough. You working and working, working. Now you got to check in. Oh, you're assuming the teacher got it, but the teacher can't check the homework at home, so it's just those miscommunications where a parent will assume that everything is there. And some parents give trust to their children way too early. It's like, yeah, you want to trust them, but you still got to check in, make sure that they're consistent. You giving too much independence to them at 5th grade, they still.
Well, I just need you to be responsible for something while I got all of this over here.
Right. But they got to check in with them to say,
Exactly,
hey, all right, let me see. Okay, homework, lay your homework. And that's what I remember as a kid. My mom, put your homework on the table. Every day, put your homework on the table.
Yeah. Because ultimately, that's the thought process of a lot of parents.
Right.
I hear it in the midst of arguments. I do this, and this, and all I asked you to do is this one thing, and you couldn't do that.
Right.
And and when I look at it, a lot of times it's surrounding school and the responsibilities that need to happen at home and the follow through that needs to happen at home. Wow. And if I feel like I don't have enough time or energy in my day to take care of the basic necessities and responsibilities, and then turn around and perhaps to come help you with something I may not even understand myself.
Right.
Then I'm going to reinforce that being your responsibility because I don't want it.
Right. Right. Yeah, but I think it just starts with, and that's the thing that I do too, as a teacher. If I don't know, I'm gonna tell them I don't know. I'm not gonna sit up here and pretend like I know everything. I'm not Superman. Like, teachers feel like they got to know everything. If we get to a certain point and I see something, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I don't know. Let's take a look at that together. And I think that's something that would help bring that together. And I know parents are tired, but just 15, 20 minutes to say, I'm not sure, but let's take a look at it together. What notes did you have? What did your teacher show you? So maybe we can take a look. What references did your teacher give us so we could take a look? And then that's when they can get to the root of it, right? Then they can say, oh, so you didn't write no notes? Well, let me call your teachers. Let me see if, oh, yeah, we had notes that day. And because I think sometimes that's the miscommunication to where certain things that need to be done, and also teachers miss, and they shouldn't miss, because I catch it. I'm like, why are you not taking no notes? What happened? Oh, recess, not for you. You got to get this down on paper, sir or ma'am. Well, I'm gonna miss the bathroom. No, I'm gonna give you a bathroom pass when
today, fella.
Exactly. And I get them all the time, and I purposely make an assignment that's it's a short little thing, take you 5 minutes, but I give them 15. Then when recess come, I need to see the paper. You don't got the paper, you can't leave. I need to see the paper. I need to make sure you have this down, because they'll skip out on it. They'll find ways to avoid. I've seen students do so many things just to avoid listening and writing down what they need for as far as the steps mathematically and things. And it's like, so you mean to tell me you drew 40 circles on this paper just to ignore what I'm saying? Now you gotta wait. You could have been out there, man. Why'd you do that? Oh, Mr. Johnson, I don't know. I'm tired. You tired, but you was awake to do the circles. You just get all of these excuses, and I love hearing it. It's like, okay, well, let me explain something. And I love when the kids say, I'm tired. You tired? Well, I was up at 4 a.m. sweating, and I'm here. I'm alert. If you need to stand up, stand up. I don't mind. I give them every avenue to help improve themselves, but go to bed. Why just getting them? And then I give them reality. I give them life stuff. Like, okay, let me ask you a question. If you oversleep 4 days in a row and you late to work 4 days in a row and you just got the job, what's going to happen? Oh, I'm going to get fired. Okay. So again, I know school doesn't seem like anything, but school has so many life lessons plugged into it, and it builds so many good habits. Why not? And that's what I tell teachers all the time, teachers and students. There are no bad kids in here. I only have kids with a few bad habits that we just need to address. That's all.
I'm so
No
Melvin.
bad kids.
I'm so happy that you said that. I have said that for many, many, many years. I would even tell parents in conversation, stop calling him bad. Stop
Right.
calling her bad. And I would
Right.
say that all the time because number one, they can hear you say it. So they might just play into it.
Right.
Especially if they've been hearing it all their lives. They, it's not a problem for me to do X, Y, and Z because you already deem me as being bad anyway. But
Yep.
not only that, whatever that bad decision was, that was a reaction from something that occurred. Period,
Right.
point blank.
Right.
Because when we make mistakes, are we calling each other bad?
No, you just made a mistake. Right. You just made a mistake.
So, yeah, kids, but yeah, youth, but yeah, human. How about that?
I
Let's
tell them
start
all
off
the
with that.
time, you only been here 10 years. You still trying to figure it out. You ain't been here long enough. I expect you to make mistakes. I tell my kid, I expect you guys to come here and make at least 3-4 mistakes. You're not going to get something correct on something you just learned. Just come on. That's part of it. You got to try it, get it wrong, figure it out, get back to it, fix it. Now it's right. All right, on to the next one. That's the cycle. You can't come in here and be perfect. Who's been in 5th grade before? Me? No one else. Okay, you don't expect to know everything that's going on in here. I'm the only one that finished 5th grade.
Yeah.
So those are the things I tell them just to get them used to that. Don't expect, you want to strive for perfection, but don't expect it to show up because perfection doesn't exist. Now, the path and the journey to perfection is all that you need. It builds that character. It builds all these things that you need to succeed in life. But you got to practice it. You got to go through. You got to keep trying. You got to trip and fall here, get back up, try it again, and that's, a lot of the kids think, and that's another thing. We don't use the word hard and easy in my classroom because it can be intimidating to someone else. Someone struggling with a math problem, you say it's easy. Now they think something's wrong with them. So I tell my students, don't use that language in here. Come up with a new word. Now they learn some new vocabulary. Oh, this is complicated, or this is giving me a tough time. Hard and easy shouldn't exist because it intimidates people, right? It does something to you which you think, oh, this is so hard. Now you're ready to give up. No. Hey, all right, I'm having a tough time. Take a step back. Let me reevaluate what I need to do. Ask my peer, because I give them opportunities to talk to their neighbors that they sit next to help them out if they need it. Or you can call on me. But I don't like that language, because it's intimidating to use those words,
It is. Well, we wish we could absolutely duplicate you, Mr. Melvin. Just that mentality and just put, probably maybe like 4 or 5 of you at every school site. If we could do that, you might want to work on that invention. That might be a good idea. We're gonna need you to work on that invention.
Yeah, that was another thing too. Like my second year there, I had so many veteran teachers telling me, when are you gonna open up your school? I'm like, I never said anything about opening up a school. Why do you guys keep telling me that? It was a vision, but I just didn't share that with them, Yeah. I was like, man, I got all these veteran teachers talking about, I can't wait till you get your school. Huh? What? But I do have a vision of doing something like that, and just it's a long-term vision. I think I told Chuck this a couple times, like building my own city through the school, right? You take all of those kids that the other schools don't want, you put them in a distant location, and you start building skill sets, construction, plumbing, electrical. And their projects that they have from 9th grade to high school is a group cohort project where they build a house, they build a piping system, they build an electrical system, they build this. Yeah. Then next you know, you got houses popping up. Then you build a library, then you build a grocery store. Then you have your agricultural people. They got the food for the cafeteria. Now they got food for the grocery store. Next thing you know, you got a whole populous city of African Americans just thriving through one school. So that's a long-term, high-level vision that I have, that I'll hope to see something like that building up as I pass away, type of thing, because that takes a while. But that's kind of how I wanted to view it. Just put a school at a distance and just build from the ground up,
And I envision everybody throwing money at you.
If they do, I'm gonna spend it in the right place,
because
I'm gonna go to these kids.
How do we end up with charter schools?
Right.
The concept, all the students at the school districts don't want. They want
Right.
somewhere to send them.
Right.
And then for you to have them build their community, or what do you think they've been doing? What is
Build their own community.
Right.
And then how would they treat that, being that they actually built it?
But then
Right.
all of the school, like the math and the writing and all of that they're going to learn in the midst of them learning that skills, the measurements, and it's so much they can learn. And I know Chuck, really endorsed this, because if we had a little project with teaching math and basketball at the same time, the foundation and the fundamentals, those kind of thought processes are exciting. So
Yes.
when you get ready to, present your business plan, I expect millions of dollars to come your way, because they're gonna be looking for somebody like you.
I hope so. 'Cause those are the ones I want. And then that's another thing, is my only issue or challenge would be, okay, getting the parents to understand you can come visit anytime you want, but I need these kids Monday through Friday. They're not going to have time to drive home. They're going to get up at 7. They're going to have a structured schedule. They're going to be in class throughout the day. And then towards the end of the day, if we have athletics, they'll have either their athletic stuff or their elective stuff, or even both. So they're going to be busy from 7 to 7. They're not going to have time to be playing around. Everything that they're going to do is going to be catered to whatever skill set that they want to do. They're going to be applying it. They're going to take their notes. They're going to take all the information they learned. They're going to go apply. It's going to be all of those things, to where they ain't got time for nothing else. You go ahead and get your 30 minutes of TV or social hour in and go to bed, because you got to get up in the morning and start all over. But it'll be an experience that's fulfilling for them, right? Because that's another thing. I don't like when teachers don't explain why we're doing something. I explain, and I practically beg my kids, just tell me why if you don't know. I'll tell you why right now. I'll tell you exactly why we're doing this at this time, at this moment. And it just helps for them to understand, okay, now I get it. Now I know why I'm here. Now I know why we're doing this. Because if you don't, they're like, well, this doesn't make any sense to me. You have to help them make it make sense,
But that's a particular thing that is really key and important. I come across a lot of parents that don't know how to have conversation, let alone communicate with their child. And
Right.
Children tend to ask why all the time. And what is
Right.
the response that we give them as parents?
Because I said so.
Exactly. You don't
about
question me. I run this.
Mhm.
So it's exciting, because again, to see other adults that really get it and understand and are willing to step out and be vocal and teach other adults these
Right.
very things that we feel that they should have naturally,
Right.
with experience and wisdom, is important. I think it's very important to explain to your child why. That is the reason why I have the relationship I have with my sons, because I was never oblivious or shut down from explaining why.
Right. And it's so sick with my kids. Like, they'll get into a conversation and they'll do something, and then right after they'll just automatically explain why. Like, it just come right out, because as they've been growing up, I just tell them why this needs to happen, instead of them. Like, they don't even have to ask, and now it's in their conversation where they'll say, "I'm doing this because I'm getting it out. I'm just getting it out. So you ain't gotta ask me," So that's just how I've been programmed, because I was punished as a kid. Like, my dad told me, you go to school, the teachers get paid to teach you. You ask whatever question that you have, as long as it's not inappropriate. And I would get in trouble for asking why. Raise my hand. I didn't talk much. So why? Well, you don't need to explain. I don't need to explain that. You just need to do. I'm like, oh, my dad said. What do you mean?
For real.
So I just naturally feel it's important. It develops a sense of understanding. When you have a sense of understanding, you develop a sense of mastery. You master something, you can move on to the next thing. But if you're sitting here trying to figure out why, now you're stuck, and now you're confused, and now you're trying to figure out how come you won't tell me why, But
and then you're more curious at that point. Now we want to play the game of not saying nothing. So let me figure out what this is about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It all goes back to communication, conversation. That's what, you know, it all circles back to that. Have being able to talk about it, because then now they're thinking about it. Yep. Now they can make better decisions. Now they can start talking themselves through situations instead of just, I'm angry, I'm going to do this.
Right.
You know, now I can actually say, okay, well, maybe this wasn't this. Maybe I should address it this way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it's super important. Super important.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Mr. Melvin, let us know where we can find, where everybody can find you. We so appreciate you coming on here and giving us some game, from an educator standpoint.
I'm trying. No website up yet. I'm not really active on my Instagram. I'm believe it or not, I'm an introvert. Unless you're talking about sports or academics, I don't really talk much or do much. So,
but you're an
I'll
author.
Be around. Yeah, that's right. I am. The McKinnons. It's on Amazon. McKinnens. Historical fiction that opens a lot of eyes. My next book will be out this summer. EC in Theory. It's going to open more eyes. It's going to be that big old mirror in front of your face. It's one of those books that you can read over and over again. I am working on the audio book. I'm trying to get some stuff together with that for you and those who are busy and need to hear it.
For me, please.
Yes. So those are the two coming down, and there's another one coming down that I'm going to write this summer that'll be published at the end of the year. But you kind of have to read the first one first to kind of understand why there's another one coming. So, and those who've read it are like, my family members and some of my friends are like, you need to hurry up. And I'm like, no, we got to let it breathe a little bit. And then the third one will come. So got some things coming. And that's kind of the idea behind what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to garner up a legacy and enough money so that I can go do it my own, just in case they understand my vision. They try to take it from me. I'll say I have my own money. I'll put it in. So it's going to keep going whether you like it or not. Because at the end of the day, they don't want that. They don't want us to build our own city. They don't want it. Because I'm telling you, we get established.
I was going to tell you about the city idea really quick before I forget. There's a program that exists that is kind of similar to what you were talking about, what you were explaining. And it's called Boys Republic. You ever heard of Boys Republic?
No, I haven't, but it sounds good.
Boys Republic, and their campus is in Chino.
Okay.
But literally they deal with, and I'll just a quick, from what I know, they deal with kids that come off of probation, that are released, that haven't gone to their parents yet, but they have them on a very disciplined schedule. So they do everything on campus. They have a cafeteria there. They have like everything on campus. Even I know that they do employment because every year during Christmas, the youth actually make wreaths, handmade wreaths.
Oh, nice.
And they make money from that.
Oh, awesome.
And so it's very similar to kind of like what you were explaining. So
yeah, no, without a doubt. Like, that's the thing. Like, when kids go through so many traumatic situations, you not only have to offer the help, you have to remember to be patient, because you have these years and years of developed habits that are not good for them and they don't notice it. You just have to wait for them to see it. And it could take a while because you don't know how deep this goes for them, and they don't want to share right away. So I think that's important too, just being patient and just sticking with them, and just through all that, just letting them know, hey, we're still here and we care and we want to see you through. We want to see you do the things that you enjoy. You want people to enjoy their lives. And I think a lot of times we forget that these kids are hiding that they don't enjoy what's happening. They're hiding it, so yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And Tanisha?
No, I'm sorry. I had to take myself off mute. It's noisy over here. I'm just going to continue shouting out both of my sons, Brandon Clark and Xavier Clark. Brandon Clark buys, trades, sells shoes, mostly Jordans, Nikes. He is on Instagram, Clark Kent with a K, Kicks. So Clark Kent with the K dot Kicks is his Instagram. And then Xavier is a car dealer, um, licensed, and he sells details and delivers vehicles. And his
Oh,
Instagram,
wait, details too?
huh?
Details too? Details too?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I missed that part.
Yes. And
Okay.
so he his Instagram is at start in the letter N Go Motors. Start in Go Motors. So both of them are Instagram. Hit them up, like, share, all that good stuff. I'm very proud of them. Two entrepreneurs. They're inspiring their mother. And yeah, and then my other two, I'm always proud of them as well, Darian and William. So this is the youth that I work with every single day that I pour into.
Every day.
Every day.
And that is a
Every
job.
day.
Yes,
We love you
it
for
is.
that. That is a job, and that takes a lot. Single mother of 4 boys, like that takes a whole lot. I am Camila. This is Envision Youth Services, raw conversations where nothing is scripted. We don't have meetings about what we're going to talk about. We shoot straight from the hip. And the biggest thing is we're support and full support of the youth, and fostering whatever conversation, having whatever conversation they want to have, and for them to know that this is the platform where they can say whatever the hell they want to say.
Camila.
Huh?
Look,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You got your shirt on?
I'm trying to get it in the camera. I don't know how to turn this camera.
I can kind of see the logo right there. Oh, we can see it.
I don't know how to get it in the camera, but I got on the shirt.
No, I can tell.
I need a bigger shirt.
Yes, yes,
But
yes. So
Big
raw
Nice.
conversation.
in the shirt.
You guys can follow us at EYS_2021 on Instagram. And our website, www.envisionyouthservices.org. We're out.
All right, guys.